Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Hope with me, your host, Katherine Abraham. 2 weeks ago, I was in Delhi, partly for work purposes, partly for personal purposes, and it was around this time that a friend concerned about my well-being immediately called me up at around 11:30 in the night, and without a salutation, without a hello, without a greeting, nothing. She started off with, "What are you doing in Delhi?" And a little amused and amazed, because this is not a friend who I would expect that kind of a blunt question. I was calm. I replied, "Well, I'm here on work purposes, and I have a few friends also to meet." Immediately, she countered it. "Do you not understand? We're in the middle of a pandemic." And I was amused this time because I said, "We've been in the pandemic for the last 1.5 years, and it's still going on. Tell me something new." So she said, "Aren't you worried? Aren't you scared? You might just contract something." And as though a spontaneous reply that came to my mind, I said, "Well, I'm Passover protected." I heard a long silence before she said, "What's that?" Now, for those of you who, like my friend, are unaware of what the Passover is all about, the Bible tells us that thousands of years ago, according to the Old Testament, of course, the Jews were slaves in Egypt. The Egyptians were tough taskmasters, and under Pharaoh, they only tightened the noose around the Israelites, making their lives miserable. This continued until the world's first rebel leader, Moses, came to the fore. And it was he who decided that he would go ahead and negotiate with Pharaoh and free all the Israelites. But the Bible also says that God hardened the Pharaoh's heart. And each time he said yes, he backtracked. Sounds like very many politicians across the world. Anyways, the point here is that each time he backtracked, God also showed the Israelites mercy and sent plagues. 7 different plagues were sent at the very beginning. And each time, the plagues only worsened. But the Pharaoh didn't quite think of it as an unknown God's unknown wrath. He brushed it aside. He'd go ahead, he'd promise Moses, and again, he'd go back on his word. Finally, there came a time when he made the slaves build grand treasure cities, and in the process, he forgot his word to Moses. It was at this time that God sent the angel of death. But the day before, God commanded all the Israelites to use some blood on their door. And every door that had the blood on it was protected, because not a single child from that family died. It's interesting to also note that there were some Egyptians who, knowing that the Israelite God was far greater than their own, went ahead and did the same. And their children were also spared. It is then that Pharaoh, after losing his firstborn, realized that this was a God who was not to be messed around with. And so he went ahead and he freed the captive Israelites. Now, as they sojourned further, the Israelites ensured that they commemorated this entire freedom as the Passover. Every single year, right up to today, we have a celebration of this particular day. But why is this entire phenomena so important for Christians? As a Christian, it brings me hope. Hope that come what may, whether it's a plague, whether it's a pestilence. In fact, Psalm 91 beautifully states the same, that the world could be pestilence ridden, and yet we'd be the last people standing because God's hand is still over his people. But do you believe in that promise, in that covenant, enough to go forward, pray, and travel? How many of you all have not yet left your homes, left your cities? And I'm sure the answer is almost everyone. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go forward and put your life in your hand and do something stupid. No. What I'm saying is that many people have even rejected duty calls just because they were scared. And God tells us that we don't need to be scared. So why then are we always and perpetually living in this fear-ridden world? Now, if I just have to read a portion of Psalm 91, it says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." How beautiful! Which technically means that when we step out and we know that we are going out not for a joyride, but because there is no other way out, there is a God who is protecting us. The same text further says, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him." And so here is a promise to every Christian. Everyone who believes that God has him protected. God has her protected. That you are definitely not going to see any bad days. So what about those Christians who faced the COVID, and many of them, of course, who passed away? The question is fair. But here's the thing. We can't question God. We can't question God, and we shouldn't be questioning him. When certain things happen, instead of questioning God, if we replace that question with, "I trust whatever you have done is the right thing." Now here's the thing, however difficult it may be, God will stand by you. Because the concluding lines of Psalm 91 says, "I will set him on high because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me and I will answer him." So if you want an answer, you only need to call on God. But if you're not calling on him and you expect an answer, then that's being a little unfair. It continues, "I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and shew him my salvation." Beautiful lines, a beautiful thought, and a beautiful promise. Christians across the world need to go back to their Bibles. If you want to chase hope in the right way. Because this is the time when you can manifest your faith by working, by ensuring that you're going about your duty without keeping any of the fears that the world puts in you. Again, I'm repeating myself. I do not include joyrides. I do not include trips that are for pleasure. I'm only saying that if you are needed to be at a certain place, go with faith. Go with the understanding that God is standing with you. He is having you covered. You don't have to worry about anything because you are Passover protected. It's amazing when sometimes I meet a lot of Christians and in the course of conversation, they'll be without their masks. They'll be without any kind of protection on them. And here I am, obviously masked and speaking to them, and they'll be telling me how a lot of people have fallen ill. And I generally ask them, so what were the precautions they took? And they fall silent. Well, if you're not doing what is required of you, if you're not taking the adequate pains to protect yourself, despite all of these vaccines coming out and despite all of the masks and the shields that are given to you, then why blame God for your own stupidity? A famous Arab proverb says, trust in God, but tie your camel. Definitely. We can place 100% trust in God because we know that He is going to be taking care of us. But does that mean that we throw caution to the wind and travel wherever we want, whenever we want, despite the authorities expressly stating that certain places are not to be traversed? Currently, we have the election season on. A lot of the MPs, a lot of the party workers in different states are grueling it because they want to win. But the question is, with all of those COVID nests in the making, the question is this win bigger than people's lives? Is that election bigger than a person's life? And many times I hear a lot of party workers, I know different parties, and of course I connect with them. And they say, well, we can't do anything about it. We have to win. All right, go right ahead. And these are the same people who are moving forward without adequate protection. So even those who go forward with their masks are requested to remove their masks so that they can get a nice photo op done. And one tends to wonder, where is common sense? Many of these people are Christians. And that is why it is disturbing for me, because you can't always call on God when you are actually not working on the right track. Please be careful about tomorrow. We don't know how long the pandemic lasts. And I've just told you that we are all Passover protected. But remember that even for the Passover protection to happen, their doors had to be sealed with blood. Today, our faces need to be sealed with that mask, without which you're not protected. So please be careful. Please work on these things. Definitely, we're all Christians. We're all people of hope. We're all people of faith. But we're also people of common sense. And common sense says that the COVID is right around the corner. It's still looming over our heads. And we need to be absolutely certain that we are protecting ourselves in the right way and for as long as we can. Keep your parents home. Keep your children home. It's difficult. But at the same time, we need to cash in on our faith by doing the right thing as well. If you've enjoyed this particular podcast episode, please write in to us. If you have any prayer requests, let us know. We are definitely waiting to get in touch with you. One of our staff will definitely get in touch and have a word of prayer with you. Stay tuned for the next episode. For now, it's goodbye.